Shabbat Shalom to everybody. And look who I have here. I have a special guest.
I have to address two things before we start. This is not a sunburn. I am not an alcoholic, and he is not that tall. So he's cheating because he didn't want me to tower over him.
I was trying to, well, it's this issue about the camera and getting it at the right level. And so I gotta, if I take this out, it's like you see me from here up and he's like over here and I couldn't get the adjustments. So, all right, that's how we're gonna deal it. Well, hey, we appreciate everybody joining with us again as we close out today with the encounter service. And yeah, a little bit different kind of day today. We wanted to bring up some different things that we mentioned. Kind of, we hit a few different things during the tour portion. Maybe some current events to get everybody up to speed of what's going on in the world. Maybe some other things that you can listen to. It's like, I don't know about that, but put it on the shelf. There are things that happen in the world that bring more questions than answers, but also things going on in the world when we start to look at it from different perspectives allow us to maybe put pieces of the puzzle together. Connection. And we go, I hadn't thought of that, or I didn't realize that, or maybe that really makes sense compared to that. So we're going to throw it out there. We're going to let you decide, and don't take our word for it, but you look it up, you do the research, and we appreciate input that people have. And that's why I appreciate Jonathan joining, because he gleans information from places that I don't glean information from, and we bring in a perspective. That's right. Come together.
Right now. Not tomorrow, right now.
So that's what we're going to do. Before we get started, I am going to preface it with Luke chapter 21, because that was mentioned in the Torah portion earlier. Someone put it in the chat. I think Luann put it in the chat earlier. And but before we do that, let's pray. Father, we just bless you and we honor you today. We want to magnify you. And Father, that you've caused us to live in interesting times. Yes. You've caused us to live in a time of a shift, that things are happening in the world. And uh, and and because of that, we need to be aware. Our antennas need to be up. We need to know what's happening, and so we know how to prepare. Prepare of all different things. We prepare our heart, and so we come to you to give us your wisdom, your insight, and how we are able to properly evaluate these things that are going on, because we see the day drawing near. So we honor you and we bless you in the name of Yeshua. Amen.
Amen.
So we're going to look at Matthew or Luke 21, but I do want to point out something here in Matthew. It's kind of interesting. Do you ever wonder why one chapter might be actually placed in front of another chapter?
That's because I thought that's how they write it.
Just because they wrote it in a chronological order or something like that. But it's very interesting too that I just want to bring this out. Isn't it interesting that before Matthew 24, now what is Matthew 24? Yeshua is talking and the disciples ask him, what are the signs of the time? And he says, okay, let me just explain some things to you. And he goes in, and we often reference Matthew 24. But before Matthew 24, there's Matthew 23. Well, what happened in Matthew 23? Yeshua is exposing the Pharisees. Phariseeism is a powerful spirit that is influencing our world today. Yes. And you say, well, what do you mean Phariseeism? Well, is that the Pharisees of today, which would takes us back and we see the linkage and the lineage of the modern Orthodox Jews? Is that what you're talking about? Maybe. But I think the spirit of Phariseeism is everywhere. And by definition, what is that? It's that they set doctrines and dogmas that are in opposition to the word of Yahweh. They maybe appear to have an air of godliness, but in essence, they're not. They are a type and shadow or a counterfeit. And so we always have to be looking, is this Phariseeism? Am I hearing a dogma as opposed to the word? And you can hear Phariseeism coming from the pulpits of America in Christian churches. You can hear that when they say, oh, anybody that's teaching against Torah, guess what? That is a type of Phariseeism. It's a religious spirit.
It's all about control.
It's about
Controlling the narrative, controlling the output and what you receive. I mean, look at what the Pharisees did then to control the word. Today is to control the numbers, control everything that you hear, so you don't want to get out.
Isn't that witchcraft? Control and manipulation.
It is. And some might say it's a limited hangout. Well, what's a limited hangout? It's where we want to keep you focused in this little box.
Right here.
Because don't look outside the box. Look in this box. For example, what's going on? I'm going to give you a current event that's going on today. Right now, the mainstream media and the Democrats are saying, look at Jeffrey Epstein. Look at this. Look at this. Why? Because what's being exposed is Russiagate and Crossfire Hurricane and all of the things that came against President Trump in his first administration that led to his first and second impeachment because they didn't want, and I'm not saying anything good or bad about President Trump. I'm saying look at what they did. They weaponized politics and lawfare. They sent how many lawsuits they did against President Trump? Like it's over 100 against him and his family. And reduce the background noise. This should help out. There we go. That should help out a lot. Okay. All right. And why? What is this, all about? And it's about that limited hangout. That's what they do from the pulpits in America. Look at this right here. This is our denomination. This is what we believe. Don't look outside because why? They lose control. They
don't think for yourself.
Don't think for yourself. Don't study out the scriptures for yourself. And so what have we learned in this walk is that, wow, there's so much more that we've discovered because we got out of the box. But Phariseeism wants you to stay in this box. We want you to keep the holidays on our prescribed time. We want you to look at Torah only in our prescribed way. We want to, and if you're an outsider, guess what? You don't have the divine right to look at Torah.
Well, if I control the narrative, then I control the story and I control the outcome. So if I control your narrative, then there's no reason for you to ever look around anywhere. And if you trust me and I control you, then I don't have to worry about you, shall we say, finding truth, shall we say, finding anything that might be unbeneficial to my control or my organization or what I have going on.
Exactly. And so now, Matthew 23 is about the exposing of the spirit of Pharisees. And so you can go back and you can look at it. You can see the things that Yeshua was confronting, and he gives them in verse 23 of chapter 23 of Matthew. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you tithe mint and dill and cumin and have neglected the weightier provisions of the Torah, justice and mercy and faithfulness. But these are the things you should have done without neglecting the others. And he goes on to scorn them. He says, you blind guides who strain out a gnat and swallow a camel. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you clean the outside of the cup and of the dish, but inside they are full of robbery and self-indulgence. And he goes on, and you can read it for yourself. But then immediately, so I think it is a chronological discussion of what was going on with Yeshua, kind of in a historical perspective, but it immediately follows this thing about the disciples asking and pointing out the temple buildings and he says that, do you not see all these things? Truly, I say to you, not one stone shall be left upon the other, and it'll be torn down. And then they said, tell us, when will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? So think about it. What is in our culture right now? It is an infusion to keep us only looking at one thing or another, or to overwhelm us with so much information that now we feel unempowered. And so What is that about? In other words, we want to feel helpless. The enemy wants to make us feel helpless, and so it keeps us in the box because that's what we're familiar with. So let's go to Luke 21, verse 25. And there will be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars and upon the earth, dismay among nations, in perplexity at the roaring of the sea and the waves, men fainting from fear and expectation of the things which are coming upon the world. For the powers of the heaven will be shaken, and then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. But when these things begin to take place, straighten up, lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing nigh. And he told them a parable. Behold, the fig tree and all the trees. As soon as they put forth leaves, you see it, and know for yourselves that summer is now near. Even so, you too, when you see these things happening, recognize that the kingdom of Yah is near. Truly, I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. Be on guard, that your hearts may not be weighted down with dissipation and drunkenness and the worries of life, and that day come upon you suddenly like a trap. For it will come upon all who dwell on the face of all the earth. But keep on alert at all times, praying in order that you may have strength to escape all these things which are about to take place and to stand before the Son of Man. So I wanted to give that preface as we go in to just talk about some of these things that are coming. And so, Jonathan, you were sharing with some things, and one of the things that you were talking about earlier was the floods in Texas.
So the floods in Texas. So this is a big deal. It just, and it goes back to controlling, and again, controlling wealth. What's the powers that be want to have? They want to have the control of the money. So over in Arkansas, they just discovered a new lithium reserve. And so
From Arkansas,
and it goes, and it's big. Like, it's enough lithium that would not only make the America independent from having to be supplied by any other country, but it'd make us that we could supply every other country around the world 9 times over. So that's a lot of money. You're talking about trillions of dollars. Well, to go back before I get into any more of that, so during oil companies, all that kind of stuff, they've always wondered who gets the wastewater, and the wastewater is what the water when comes before the oil and all that. Do the landowners get it? Do the companies get it? Who owns the rights to that? So just remember that as we move on.
So you have two different types of waters. You have the aquifer waters, and then you also have, like, whenever they're doing modern oil, they're infusing wastewater into the ground, which forces the oil back into the reserves that they're pumping out.
Yeah. And so how lithium comes about, to mixture of brine, water, salt water, all that kind of stuff. Well, there's an aquifer that runs from Arkansas all the way down to the same county that the floods happened in. And so
so that's a long way.
Yeah,
Arkansas all the way to the hill country of Texas.
Yeah. And it's an aquifer, and aquifers usually take 100 years, maybe a little less, but maybe a little more to fill up. So remember that.
To refill, right?
To refill, yeah. To refill, to fill up, to get to where they're usable. So on July 1st, they went ahead and passed that the companies get to have the wastewater. They get to control it. They don't give it to the landowners or anything like that. They have control of the water. Then July 2nd, they went ahead and started seeding that area. So also going back to that, the guy that has the rights to seed cloud seeding. So that's not, so anybody thinking like, well, cloud seeding, no, that's a legit thing. It really happens. They do it. It's not a conspiracy theory. Like, there's people that own the rights to be able to seed over in this area, seed over in that area. Well, the guy that owns the rights to seed he has the rights to seed right above that county line and right up below that county line. And so July 1st, that's passed, that the companies now get the wastewater. He seeded July 2nd. 3 days later, we had the flood. And now all the aquifers are filling up and becoming fuller from these floods. So now it's able to have the lithium, and all that's going to happen quicker because the aquifers are filling up.
And they can use that water in the mining of the lithium.
Yes. And so it's not, they don't have to worry about landowners getting in the way because now they own the rights to that. Yeah.
So we're gonna come out losing some.
So what do they have to do? They got to do a couple different things. And this happened, and if you think,
They made the floods happen.
yeah,
And, I
so
mean, without saying it, we're saying it, you know, I'm not going to say it, but
and you look back what happened last year with the hurricane that came up through Florida, up through up through the Carolinas to North Carolina, and then that hurricane sat right on top of North Carolina, and it dumped water and more water and more water, and it flooded out the population in that area. They're still recovering in that area, but why? Because they in that area where those people are living are huge lithium deposits as well. So if you need to get to those lithium um, um, areas, reserves, then you've got to move the people off the land, because the only way that you can actually mine the lithium is to strip mine. You just start you just start digging. You just pull up all the land and all the dirt, destroy it all.
The land.
but again, what does a company care when I can make trillions upon trillions of dollars? I don't care about lives. And see, the thing is, okay, so going back, I'm going to throw some other stuff with the seeding. So the guy that I cannot remember the man that owns the rights to seed in the area, but I know the one that helps supply the money for him. His name is Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel is a very he's anti-people. Like, he prefer, like, all our minds will go to a computer, would be on a big computer base. Like, no people are a waste of time and energy. So with him being able funding that, you would see that he's like, I really don't care about, the lives of the people. I don't care about those things, because people's lives to me don't mean anything, because I'd rather people be computerized and blah 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 blah.
Yes,
So the people they don't care about the lives, they care about the money. They care about their narrative and what they can control.
So the purpose of it then is to, again, they'll feed us one story. Here's the shiny object. It might be tragedy, it might be hope. It could be whatever, but what's the real story? What's going on behind the scenes? And of course, they don't care about the rest of us. Our lives don't matter. Because money talks. And what does this nation need right now? It needs a huge infusion of money in lithium, because everything is that is the main ingredient that goes into batteries. And they use it in electric cars, they use it in their cell phones, they're using it, you name it.
Trying to bring that
lithium is huge. The only offset to the lithium is, by the way, is silver. This is what they're not talking about, because it was Samsung has developed the technology by which they can build a battery that's better than lithium, that lasts longer. It's not as dangerous. It's not as toxic. And they've built it out of silver. It's not as big. It holds a better charge. But guess what? In other words, they can use these lithium batteries, and they're much smaller. They're not going to put out the radiation and all those different things like in electric cars that are damaging your health as you drive around. And they're running up to full production on these in South Korea, because that's where they developed it. But the thing is silver it's a limited resource, that they can only mine so much silver every year. The amount of silver that they need in order to replace the lithium market will take, as I understand it, it was over 50% of the current amount mined annually, in order to build these batteries, in order to replace the lithium market with that. So now we have two different competing markets, and now it's a race. It's a race between, what resource and source are you using? If you want to look at, let's look at the land that's being battled over in Ukraine. Huge lithium deposits. Eastern Ukraine is full of all sorts of natural minerals, but there's lithium deposits over there. And guess what? the powers that be that Jonathan's talking about, these the tycoons of industry, what do they want? They want resources, and it's not right to them that Russia came in and took that part of Ukraine. And we have this battle. In fact, the battle's been going on for quite a long time because the Russian speaking people that's in the eastern part of Ukraine were the biggest threat to the EU going in and harvesting all of these natural resource deposits that are over there. And that's why when President Trump came in, President Trump says, look, in order for us, let's stop the battle. And by the way, you owe us money. So we're going to help you mine the natural resources, but you're going to give us a percentage of it. It's all about the bottom line, dollar amount. And of course, President Trump says, because he wants to boost our economy, he wants to pull us out of everything that has been raped from our nation financially and restore America. So, and he was also talking to, look, Russia's got all sorts of natural minerals that greater than any other nation in the world. And Trump was talking to Putin and says, why don't we help you also harvest or mine out these natural minerals? And Putin says, yeah, you bet. We want to be part of that as well. And so now we have, and so you think about the conflicts that are going on, and in the other side of it, failing economies. People aren't talking about how fragile the banking system is and how easy it can be completely shattered, and we can have a depression worse than the Great Depression. But it's not just America. We're talking about a worldwide collapse of everything, and it'll take a long time to get out of it. So, yeah. What else did you want to say on that?
There's also, I can't remember the company off the top of my head right now, but they're also doing a diamond battery. And they're talking same thing, that this one lasts 10 years at a time. But I mean, there's just a bunch of different things. But again, what would be beneficial to us is not beneficial to them. So why would that? I mean, I'd rather you, if I'm a company, I want you to spend, $20 for a thing of batteries compared to having a battery that lasts you 10 years and I make no money off of you.
Right. Yeah, because we're designed to be a disposable society. It's not just the people, but it's talking about they can make things last. In fact,
they choose not to.
Right. There was an agreement made with Japan, because Japan can make things that'll last forever. But there was an agreement with Japan that when they started, we've talked about, back in the 70s, anything that came from Japan, people laughed at because or made in China. Oh, that's, cheap stuff. It's going to break. And Japan improved their industrial quality to the point that things would last like a lifetime. And they were told, no, you can't do that. You have to allow things only have a certain amount of lifespan so that we can continue the consumer cycle. So when things break, it has to be repaired or replaced. The consumer cycle is important to economies. And you think, well, that's not fair to my pocketbook, but and then you look at it, people are employed because of a breakable system, a system that needs to always constantly be fixed. Problem is, in America, they ship that production overseas, and we don't make any of these things.
I thought Trump was getting it back.
Not all.
But it requires building new factories, and building new factories takes money and it takes time. So he's getting the investments, but you still need time to build it.
And then you got to get the people in there that know what they're doing.
And so and that's the other thing, the resource of having, we don't produce enough educated people in order to build these things.
That's right.
We don't have the engineers. We don't have we have people that we have raised up a generation with a poor education system,
Because we have poor schools.
who escape in video games as opposed to applying themselves in education. They built, remember, think about this. They sent spacecraft up with people that use slide rules.
Yeah, that blows me away.
Today, no one knows how to use a slide rule and have to rely on physical computers and computer processing and computer power in order in order to do anything. And so what happens when the computer breaks? But this brings up the next subject that Jonathan was talking about, and that's artificial intelligence.
AI, because it's ours a reason. Yeah, AI, which I do believe, and I'll say this: that I believe AI is a demonic spirit. No, none of it is. No AI is good. Those want you to think it's good, but AI, I believe, is it's a spirit that I believe all deep down it's a demonic, what you want to call it, principality, that kind of stuff. But again, so if I can make a generation that's completely reliant upon computers, doesn't want to think for themselves, all that kind of stuff, that goes to Chat GBT, which is a AI source, that's where all they're coming up with all these answers and questions and writing essays and all that kind of stuff. If I can have a generation relying upon that when I get it to take over. So say a cell phone company says, hey, you don't want to have to use a physical phone anymore. Well, let's just put a little implant in the back of your neck. It only takes about 15 minutes, because that's Elon Musk is trying to push that. They just get a little implant. Yeah, a little implant in the back of your neck that gets you, and you'll be able to access to like any information that you want at any time you want, all that kind of stuff. So if I have a generation that's dependent upon that, then I have control. Again, I control the narrative.
Didn't didn't the jab set us up for that, because it implanted the nanotechnology in people, and that's why
that was a start. But again, that didn't get pushed as well as they wanted it to. So as you've looked from to now, they're still trying to push things, because not all of it's catching like they want it to. Not all of it's like getting on board as instantaneously like they want it to. So right now, they pushed some other things, and now AI, that's the next push of, let's get you onto this, get you, in a sense, the word, addicted to it.
Yep.
And then so now we have the control.
So, and that's all connected to nanoparticles.
So that's what I was meaning.
Yeah.
There's another thing. Wi-Fi centers now.
Yeah. So what if you think you're immune to the nanoparticles because you avoided the jab? Think again, because it's in our food. They've been spraying it. It's in our waters. It's in a lot of different places, and we don't even know it.
I don't know if you all heard about the toxic fog that's going around. Like,
but that doesn't mean go ahead and get a jab in the future. Don't do that.
So
because there's a lot more in that.
Right, and then ultimately, it is to shorten lifespans, because they want to reduce populations. So the push right now is build the artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence then can go with quantum computing.
Let's say quantum.
Yeah, quantum computing. So then they can actually come up with breakthroughs in science in a matter of minutes, hours, or even just a couple weeks. Things that they've not been able to figure out design flaws and all. They feed all the information in the computer, and it comes back out. Here's the answers to it. Now, what Jonathan's talking about with artificial intelligence, here's the thing: because of this demonic connection, there is a spiritual connection, and you think CERN. CERN is that big atom busting project that's over in Switzerland, and because of what they're doing in breaking the atom open,
find the God particle, the dark matter.
They have found the God particle. Yeah. They've actually had the breakthrough, but it's causing opening of portals or doors between dimensions, and it is an infection by using that system. That system, by the way, is connected to the internet. The internet is connected to all these different computers, and the infection of the dark spiritual element into the quantum computing and the artificial intelligence is linked.
But again, nothing's new. So there's the common phrase that there's nothing new under the sun. I don't believe that this is the first time that this has ever happened. It might have come back up, but you look at the Tower of Babel, you look at some of the things they found, like a 2,000-year-old computer. Some of the stuff, like, this isn't new information. It's just used information that's become new again.
Yeah.
So I believe that's why the Tower of Babel was an issue, is because the technology they had, the things they were doing, all that kind of stuff is because again, like I said, AI I believe is a principality of some sort, of some fashion.
That's Michael, and he said electric cars, but Elon Musk and China have made this deal on a brand new engine, and electric cars are gonna be gone, but lithium will still be part of what is being manufactured. But he said electric cars will be gone in the next 3 to 4 years.
So ultimately what it is that it's using Tesla technology to pull energy out of the atmosphere that will be what will be moving these vehicles
I
around.
mean, you
So
think there's a reason why? I think there's a reason why they keep firing rockets, unmanned rockets into the sky for any reason. I'm just saying, you don't know. Yeah. But going back to AI, so now, whether you look at it through the Tower of Babel, where you look at it through the Nazis and what they were developing, the Bible, and everyone knows the Bible is circular. It's not linear where it starts here and ends here, but it repeats itself.
Everything is exciting.
And so what's already happened is happening again. And so that's why AI, I believe, whether I probably might have not been called AI back in the day, it might have just been called a spirit, called Legion, whatever you want to call it. But now it's just taking a new form, and now it's getting people. I mean, we'll look at a few different societies. So you can say disease. Now, I'm gonna throw just some narratives. Y'all can run with them, think about them. But civilizations that just instantaneously were wiped out for some reason, that maybe they look at our civilization could be one that comes to it. But look at the Mayans. Look at you want to look at Sodom and Gomorrah, the wickedness. Atlantis, all that kind of all that kind of stuff. That why was it was basically a society was just all under one control, and then happened to be wiped out because it was so evil, and was so all that kind of stuff. So I believe that's the agenda for AI now, is to get again the control, and again, if it's demonically linked, which it is. So even if you say, well, I'm just using it to use information, well, what influence is outside of that though? So then what can happen to, because again, the enemy ultimately wants the destruction of everybody. So he might use it, but he's like, if I can get everybody hooked on AI and can have a tainting of the DNA or a tainting of society, and I can get destroyed, then I win, because there's more bodies into my count than theirs. So you look at it that way.
So look at that. Look at the you can look at Star Trek movies, and I'm thinking particularly of the movie The Borg, which was this cube that's out there. And what did they do? It was a simulation. Resistance is futile, so that's the word. And it's merging a machine with computers. And that's so when we look at this, the nanoparticles within our body and the harnessing of even the energy of our body is part of the harnessing of energy and tapping in energy resources in order to feed the artificial intelligence system.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, if with the AI and everything that goes about it, with the control, because look at kids. We'll look at it with children. Because I have a school project, I'll go ask AI. It'll help me get my full project. Ooh, I have a high school. I have a project needs done. Ooh, college. I have a project needs done. Ooh, business. I have something that needs completed. So I don't have to think. But again, it gets you so comfortable with AI. AI is not a big deal. It helps me. It makes me feel good. Like, there's even kids with AI saying, like, I'm having this problem at school, and it becoming like a motherly figure or a comforter. And so they get
counselor.
Yeah, a counselor. And so then when it comes and there's the control, like, why wouldn't I want that to control me? It makes me feel good. It makes me happy. It helps me with my problems.
Like you think about Ready Player One.
Yeah. The movie Ready Player One.
Where everybody was in a game, but the only reason I'm saying that, they weren't actually hooked in like computer parts, but they have become so addicted to that technology.
That's what be in that world than the real world.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that is the thing, because again, I'd rather you.
Well, they didn't, and then ultimately the best players and the best player. No, that was game. I'm thinking about what was that other one that they were playing a game. that he was the best at playing the game, and ultimately he said, "Okay, here's your final one," and he thought he was playing a game, but in reality, he was actually
Fighting or
he was actually battling an enemy.
Ender's Game.
Ender's Game. That's right.
Ender's Game. And so Ready Player One was people so not wanting to live in reality, wanting to live in a virtual world.
Well, but the powers that be, they always throw things in movies for it to make us comfortable. Like, oh, I saw that in a movie. That's not a big deal. Like, I mean, look at the cartoon Wall-E. I mean, I don't know if y'all even seen the cartoon Wall-E where everybody was just super fat, had to be in chairs, and they didn't want to do anything else. They didn't exercise, go swim, anything like that. They just yeah. I am talking about the movie Wall-E. Remember how they're all Wall-E, the cartoon, the Disney cartoon?
Well, I watched the movie.
Wall-E was a little robot.
Wall-E.
Yeah.
He was the computer.
Yeah.
Little guy.
Uh-huh.
I watched that, but I don't remember that part.
All the people that were on the spaceship that were fat and didn't want to do anything were lazy.
Yeah, I guess kind of.
I mean, what Jonathan's saying is that what do they do? You can get artificial intelligence to write a composition for you. In business, you can, instead of sitting down and thinking about what I want to put in this letter, you just give artificial intelligence, I need a letter that hits these subjects, and let artificial do. So what does it do? It's just the same thing, a sermon, or even like look at your cell phone. How many people remember cell phone numbers or telephone numbers anymore? You look it up. You look it up by name, right? You look at go right. Because what to do, it introduce our hypothalamus, our memory abilities, and short-term, long-term memory. So we stop using it, and then it atrophies. And
oh man, we all need to start memorizing our numbers again.
I know it.
it's true.
That's what happened. Like, there's a few stories where the a person gets arrested. They take his cell phone, and they're like, "You have your one call." Oh, I don't know any numbers. I don't know anybody to call. I don't have any numbers memorized.
But you know, the kids today they don't play outside. They play those games, and their brains are even getting worse because of it.
Well, it's true, and I say to this, woe to our society later on for those that are going to replace us, because there's not a whole lot to be replacing, because there's not a whole lot
Come on, tell it.
that's coming forth. That, I mean, I don't know everybody in the world that's coming forth and coming of age, but I see a few, and if you can't tell how to do a clock or look at a clock and tell the time,
Count back change, stuff like that.
So the whole idea of the Matrix was that all of society lived in pods. They were in a pod in a dream state where they believed that they were living out a reality of their life, and they were fed through tubes. But what were they doing? The powers that be were tapping in to their bodies to harness, to use them as a resource, as an energy resource, and they lived in a fantasy world by taking the red pill or the blue pill. Blue pill, you stay in the same state, you just continue to sleep, you just think you're good, and they will continue to feed you through injections. Or the red pill, you come out of the matrix and you live in the real world, but you're actually living in a dimension of two different worlds, fighting basically
fighting the physical, but also fighting
this computer is what it was, fighting the computer, which was always looking for the people that are living in reality, to kill them, to destroy them.
Well, that's why, I mean, again, and if you look at it that way, if you look in, whether it be on YouTube, and I'm not talking about discoveries. I'll say different discoveries, like say people that discover giants or discover skeletons or anything like that, and they discover the truth. What happens to them usually? They disappear. They vanish. You don't hear anything. So that's the thing, is when you get disconnected from the computer or the program that they want, and you think outside for yourself, you become an issue, because that might have other people disconnect, and then
so. Going through that line of thinking, you were telling us about the discovery that was in Death Valley.
Death Valley with the pipe, though. So there's an account. I actually have it on my phone. Pull it up. But there's an account over in Death Valley back in 1930. Let me make sure. I'm pretty sure it was 1930. 1946. So, but a Dr. Russell's and a Dr. Beauvais, they discovered, so they've been following like they're kind of archaeologists, different stuff. They've been following the Paiute Indians in that area, and Paiute Indians have a not a story, but they and on their records, and also happened, I can't remember in another area, but in Death Valley they would fight giants because the giants would come down and eat them, and they would fight them off, and they sealed them in a cave. Well, these two doctors, were going through the Death Valley, looking through different things, and they found a cave, and inside the cave were mummified giants, some mummified mammoths, mummified saber-tooth, stuff like that. But they explored this cave, I think it was for 15 years before they let it be known, and it went about I think they said anywhere between 180 to 400 and something square mile. And there's got a bunch of, I think it's Dr. Beauvais, got a bunch of investors to come and like partner with them so they can actually excavate, that's the word, excavate the area and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, before we have this big old interview and get together, he's like, I'm going to go get some items to bring to show to y'all, and then we'll have it. Well, he went to go get those items. No one ever heard from him again. His car was there, all that kind of stuff. No one ever heard from him again. The investors pulled out, and now that area is called China Lake Military Base, and it's where they test weapons and all that kind of stuff. So again, truth was found, and it was covered up because they don't need that stuff being exposed. And now my biggest thing is why. So people are like, well, why does the government always, because you look at all the giants, all that kind of stuff, why it always gets, they always cover it up. And you could say, well, so some thoughts are, why would they want to cover giants up?
Because the Bible.
Well, maybe it gives a little too much validation to the Bible because the
Right.
Bible speaks about giants.
Right.
That could be one. Maybe it's that it's not, they don't want, in a sense, they could say, well, because the government's denied it for so long, they could be like, the people could be like, well, if the government's denied it this, what else has the government been lying about? What else have they been trying to cover up? There's more. I mean, if you look at, going back to like, well, all the things that the government covers up, look at Antarctica, whatever, Antarctica. Why is it the one spot that all the nations have come together and said, you know what? We all agree we're not going to mess with this place. We're not going to touch it. We'll just leave it alone. Because we got Russia who's at war with people. All these places that are at war with each other, but they still agree we're not going to touch Antarctica. We're not going to mess with it. And then you even have Neil Armstrong, who even gave out the statement, everything there is evil and the world's not ready for it.
Yes.
So, there's things going on, again, that's outside of the narrative that they don't want you to understand.
I think it has a more evil agenda.
Oh, no, it's super evil. Everything. So, salt conspiracy theory, whatever. I believe all the powers that be are all evil. I'm talking big powers. I'm talking governments,
The power.
all those things are evil, and the thing is they're evil because they were, what was their foundation probably based in? It's probably based in Satan, the occult,
Yes.
all that kind of stuff, based in, the technology that's advanced now, again, might not have been so advanced however many years ago, the Nephilim writings, all that kind of stuff, that again, Nephilim were evil. So if you get the teachings and the information from them, then automatically, it's going to corrupt you. It's going to change you. Look at the thing about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He took a formula and it changed him for the worse. It's that kind of stuff. Every myth and legend has a truth to it. I threw so many different things for y'all. I just threw a bunch of different things
Good.
that y'all, so many rabbit holes y'all could go down.
Current events.
So this is, you think about the Hopi Indians. Now the Hopi Indians are what are they, around Arizona, Utah area? And where did you see the Hopi Indians dwellings? They were in cliffs, right? And in order to get up there, you had to go up really, really tall ladders. Well, what was the reason for that? The reason is because of the giants. They had
a lot about that. I think
it's in their history, and the Hopi,
Put her pinky in her mouth. Sorry.
they have in their own history, their elders talk about they don't talk, they actually won't talk to outsiders, but they have talked to a few different people. And one of the things that they talk about is, the giants, They actually have their own astrological view of the world.
Yes.
And interesting
Some of them.
enough that it has a connection to biblical eschatology. And you think, where did they get that? And but where is that area? Arizona, Utah? It's right in the area of China Lake. By the way, China Lake, part of China Lake base was destroyed in an earthquake not too long ago. It's probably been in the last 5 years.
I believe God's in
Bob's
this.
online with us right now, and he might remember, but I remember that there was a discussion about that in the past, that part of that base was destroyed. But one of the things that people don't know is that I don't know if it's China Lake, it may be connected, but the U.S. has um, submarine bases that are inland that have access to the ocean, and China Lake may be what might be one of those.
So you're saying that there's inward seas that subs can go from the ocean into inland?
Okay, got it.
Yes. Yep.
Wow, I
I
didn't know
thought
that.
so, but
So
I thought it was.
yeah, so a lot of we have all sorts of technology that is that we don't, as the public,
We don't know.
about
but it's
it.
developed.
So when President Trump talks about we have weapons that nobody knows about,
Sorry.
he's
That's true.
he's talking about weapons
Yes.
that are very destructive.
Why can't nobody ever against us? That's why.
Well,
We can lock them out.
I don't think that. I think there's a treaty
That's
between
part of it.
all of them that
That's a
be.
big part of it.
we're living, it's certainly in this there's a standoff, and people do stand off, and then we've had treaties saying, look, a mutual assured destruction is saying everybody is armed up so that nobody have the ability
Well,
to
true.
kill or
China,
destroy another
yeah,
nation
yeah.
because of that threat, because nobody wants to go there.
Right.
Nobody wants to have that type of destruction. All right, then. So anyway, a lot of different thoughts, a lot of different things that are going on. These are one other thing I wanted to connect the dots with, and that has to do with what's going on in our solar system. We've talked a lot about Planet 7X. We've talked about threats from space, incoming asteroids, incoming uh, threats to our world. And one of the things about that is, of course, we have our own sun that we see biblically is a threat to our world.
Yep.
We were talking about earlier in the Torah portion how even the spectrum of light, our eyes are only tuned into a narrow spectrum of light, but with the shifting in the magnetic fields, the weakening of the magnetic fields may cause our ability to see beyond the spectrum of light that our current visual ability can see, can change, even to the point of when these visible spectrums change, we might look at our own skin or the skin of someone in front of us actually look transparent, because in our visible spectrum of light, when we look at our skin, it looks solid. Jonathan looks red. I look tan.
Yeah.
No, but what would happen if our ability to see changes? I mean, that we become more transparent in our view, or being able to see between dimensions because the spectrum changes. That
The
Yahweh,
veils become a little thinner.
the veils become thinner, that we are actually see into the other realms because of things that are shifting, and these things that are frightful that Luke is recording from what Yeshua is telling us about. So we talked about that earlier, but what about what's happening on these other planets? Something is passed through our solar system that's causing our to change.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're getting
Um,
water on
that
them.
they're having polar tilts, wobbling. and different types of storms happening on those planets. And they're watching that, they're observing these planets, and they're saying, okay, something's coming in. What's it going to do to our planet? And let alone, what are we experiencing? We're seeing so much intensity in earthquakes. We're seeing intensity in geological phenomena, volcanoes, all of that taking place. Why? Because of some type of incoming wave. These are not gravitational. These are electromagnetic influence.
Yes.
Everything in our system is electromagnetic. Look, they're looking at the electromagnetic fields around the sun flipping. Well, when that flips, it's going to cause other electromagnetic fields on planets to flip. And this is what we've seen on our planet. The North Pole had, I think it was in a matter of just a short time, like a week or so, it moved multiple miles. And but it's not just that. Our not the magnetic poles, but the poles by which we rotate around, there has been a wobbling taking place. So Isaiah tells us that the earth is going to rock like a drunkard.
Yes.
And when it begins to rock and begins to shift, what's it going to do to our coastlines? Because the majority of our planet is water. And when the poles are wobbling, what's it going to do to our
Had an earthquake in Russia.
and that was so huge. Think about how much that column of water that moved across the Pacific Ocean. It did create tsunamis along our coastline. Northern Japan, I think, got affected the most. It wasn't devastating like the one that happened many years ago. Was the one in Japan in
It's been a while.
Fukushima, 2010,
Yeah.
maybe 15 years ago, and yet that's still pouring out radiation into the water. I mean, they're releasing that radiation, and so when you think about a column of water that's moving across the entire Pacific at 500 miles an hour, what's it doing to the world itself? And it's wobbling and it's shifting.
That's why we've
It's
got
moving.
whales beaching, all sorts
The
of
electromagnetic fields are
animals beaching.
disrupted, which causes the beaching of the
Yeah.
of the whales and the
Missiles.
dolphins and all sorts of different things. So
Or the aliens that live in the ocean.
yeah,
I'm gonna end it with that.
Well,
They exist.
So 2011, Tammy put that happened in Fukushima's 2011. So yeah, so we have all these different things. And by the way, I saw something. It's Suspicious Observer is one of the YouTube channels I usually follow, and I haven't been watching, but
It's what?
Suspicious Observer. They said that there's some type of looked like maybe an alien craft. It's like a big long thing, multiple colors. I don't know.
I used to wouldn't believe that, but I mean,
There's supposedly a dome in the ocean that's 2 miles wide that's moving along the ocean.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, that is.
So
But you know, our oceans are deep, so who knows?
things are taking place. Look up, for your redemption draws nigh. These are kind of the things that you're not reading in our.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed a little change in our pace
Yes, I love
on this encounter service, but some
Thank you, Jonathan.
I'll do it
Yes,
again if you want me to.
Yes,
You let me know in advance.
yes.
Tons of stuff.
We need to hear current events all the time with today's what's everything going on.
so don't take it for what we said. You research it for yourself. There's probably more information. We probably dropped a lot of things that a lot of rabbit holes, but also on the other side of it, you do your own research, look it out. We probably have more information to learn and glean from that we need to update from as well. So thank you for participating with us and being part. Until next time, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.